This video will show you how to give your 3 to 5-year-old child a jump start into reading. This video is written for the parent or the person who's going to work with a child, because the slides teach you how to work with a youngster to develop the skill of hearing and manipulating sounds. So you'll want to work on skill 1 before you move on to skill 2 and so on. There's a total of 6 skills in this. Now, not on this YouTube, but down below in the comments, you will see a link to a PowerPoint of this same presentation. And on the PowerPoint, you'll see a speaker button on each slide. You'll be able to click on it when you want to hear the narration, and a next button so you can fast forward or go to the next slide when you're ready. But that way you can pace it as quickly or as slowly as you need it to be. So if you want that, just download it in the comments section. I can't stress enough, the most important part of teaching your young child to read is to make it fun. Play with words and sounds. If they don't get something, it's okay. Just laugh with them and tell them we'll try that again later. If your child gets frustrated, they're not ready for this yet, so wait a while and try again. The worst thing you can do is make them think they can't read or that reading isn't fun. So just make this a playtime. Teaching all these skills is going to take time, so don't rush things. Before you start with letters, you need to spend time learning about sounds and how they work together to make words. This video is about playing with sounds. Then when you introduce letters, putting them together will make much more sense to the child. So sometimes kindergarten spends, a whole quarter or sometimes a whole semester doing these kinds of sound activities. So don't rush through this. And don't get frustrated if your child doesn't get it the first time around. As I said earlier, there are 6 skills that I'm going to introduce in these slides. Take your time on each skill until your child can do it pretty well. Doesn't have to be perfect, but pretty well, before you move on to the next skill. So the first thing we're going to talk about is hearing words. Then we'll go to hearing syllables, then hearing individual sounds, then adding sounds, taking away sounds, and replacing sounds. Once they can do all of those things, reading will be much easier for them. Teaching your child to listen closely to sounds is our first skill. The educational word for this is phonemic awareness and phoneme manipulation. Here's how you do it. Skill 1 is word awareness. So tell kids you're going to play with some sentences. Say a simple sentence, I like dogs. Ask the child to say each word and put up a finger for each word or clap for each word. Say sentences up to 5 words. When the child can consistently clap the words, move on to clapping syllables. So for example, if you say, I like dogs, and they say, I like dogs. Then you move on to hearing syllables, chunks of words. This is called syllable awareness. And you say, today we're going to play with words. Tell your child to listen to you say goodbye. And then you do it again, goodbye. Clap on each syllable. And then you're going to tell them you're going to practice with other words. You just want them to clap every time they hear a part of the word or a chunk of the word. It's actually a syllable, but they don't need to know that big word. Just tell them to clap when they hear part of a word. So for example, happy, banana, goat, and so on. So do that with them first and then give them some other words and see if they can do it by themselves. It'll take some time, but they'll get it. This is a good time to talk about rhyming words and practice them. So you just ask them, do these 2 words sound the same at the end? Do they rhyme? And you say goat, boat. Do those sound the same at the end? Goat, boat. And then do ball, fall. And so do all of those on the left, and then you can add more if you need to until they get it. And then you ask them if they can think of a word that rhymes with these words. It can be a real word or a make-believe word, it doesn't matter. So you say sat. Can you think of anything that rhymes with sat? And if they can't get it, you tell them some. Sat mat, sat vat, sat bat. until they get the hang of it. You can also read rhyming books and ask the child to name the rhyming words they hear in the books. Now you're ready to work with individual sounds, not letters, just the sounds. And so this skill is called phonemic awareness. And you say, today we're going to play with sounds. Listen to me say cat. Now listen to me say it slower. Cat. Did you hear some different sounds in there? What'd you hear first? Cat. Yeah, the first sound you hear is k. Can you think of any other words that begin with k? Can you think of any? How about cookie or corn or clap? If they can't think of them, you give them examples until maybe they can come up with one on their own. It'll take some practice, but that's what phonemic awareness is. It's being able to hear the sounds in words. To continue on and say, did you hear anything else in cat? Listen to me. K, at. Besides the k, did you hear any other sounds? K, at. Yes, cat has 3 sounds. Listen to them. And put your fingers up as you say each sound. K, a, t. 3 sounds. See what sounds you can hear in these words. Tap a finger every time you hear a sound. Try bat. B, a, t. How many sounds did you hear? Do that for each of these words. And again, you can make up more words if you need to. Now, take note of rope. Although it has 4 letters, it only has 3 sounds. O, p. So don't get confused with sounds and letters. Hearing individual sounds and words takes a lot of practice. So mix it up. Like sometimes let the child give you a word and you tap the sounds. Or the next time, lay out 5 pennies in a row. And every time they say a sound for a word, they push a penny forward. So for example, if you say dog, when they say d, they push a penny forward. When they say ah, they push a penny forward. And when they say g, they push a penny forward. Just a way to mix it up and make the practice different for them. Next time you might have a phoneme scavenger hunt. So you give them a word, cat, and you ask them what's the first sound they hear. You might have to stretch it out for them, k, at, and they say k, or you tell them it's k. And then they walk around the house and look for things that start with k. And when they've found everything they can find that starts with a k sound, then you give them another word and a new beginning letter. So this time you might say fox, ox. What's the first sound you hear? F. So then you're going to walk around the house and look for things that start with f, and so on. It's just a different way to mix up the practice. When your child is pretty good at hearing the different sounds in words, then you're going to start adding sounds to a word. So you tell them, today we're going to play and make new words. Say at. Now add b to the beginning of at. What does that make? B, at. B, at. Yes, bat. Let's try some more. And then you go through these. Add k to at. What do you get? If you need to, you can say them over and over and get them closer together, like k, at, k, at, k, at, until they hear cat. Now you're going to add sounds, but use different sounds. So tell them, say ugh. Add b to the beginning of ugh. What'd you make? And you may have to do it for them again. B, ugh, until they hear bug. And then there's others down below for you to practice on. Op. The real word for this is onset and rhymes, with the first letter being the onset and op being the rhyme. Not that you need to know that, but that's the educational word for this, onset and rhyme. But it's adding sounds or adding phonemes to a chunk. After the child can add phonemes, then you move to taking away a sound. So you tell them, say bat. Take away the b. What's left? B, at. What do you have left if I take away the b? And work with them until they hear at. And the same with all of these. Say pant. Take away the t. What's left? Pan. And so work with them until they understand this. You may have to do the whole left side with them and then let them try the right side on their own, or you may have to do all of them with them, and that's okay. This is the last and the hardest of these skills, and that is substituting a phoneme or changing a sound. So you'll say, try this. Say pig. What if I change p to b? Instead of p-ig, it's going to be b-ig. And work with them until they hear pig become big. And so now say dot. Change the t to g. If they don't get it right away, work with them. D, a, t. But I want that t to become a g, so we'll go d, a, g, d-og, dog. And so here's several to try with them. And you'll have to do this probably many times until they get it, but that's okay. This is the hardest of the skills. Once you have gone through all of these sound activities, then your child is ready to understand letters, and that letters represent the sounds they've been working with. So I'm going to make a video called Jumpstart for Learning Phonics, because phonics is putting the letters and sounds together. And so you can watch for that coming up. But if you have just accomplished the sounds, your child will do wonderful in kindergarten. And then you can start telling them, remember that k, ah, t we talked about? To show k on paper, we write it this way and show them how to write a C. Or to show that ah on paper, this is how we do it. We write this letter A. And that's when every time you see that letter A, it stands for ah or A, one of those two sounds, and so on. So we'll get into that with a Jumpstart for Learning Phonics. But good job for helping your child through this sound activities.